And once again, it's the end of my work day and my brain is barely working. So I'm gonna try to do a video. Hi. So, I don't know what I'm recording for. This is a habit of mine. And so we'll see what I come up with to talk about. I'm intrigued by the fact that after thinking and feeling as if I was the only one working on a system by which humanity might discover a way to be saved, rather than the salvation itself, I'm discovering other people that are working on similar projects. Wow. It's really interesting how many of us have, with our own personalities stamped all over our projects, we've been making similar projects. And it seems obvious to me that we will be synthesizing our projects together, because if we didn't, there would be there would be competing projects, right? And that's what we specifically don't want. I don't think anybody that is working on this project wants to try to be the number one project. They just want to make sure the project gets started. The project of humanity working towards their continual existence and betterment. There is no other project, right? If there is any other project, it is a distraction from the real project, and may even be a project that results in degradation and destruction. We've gotten too powerful, but I've already talked about all that in other videos. So what am I talking about here? I am talking here about how do we synthesize this, because this is a lot of work. There's a lot of us. And I've got the feeling that our efforts have not only been... See, here's the good thing. The group that seems to be forming, all are willing to synthesize our own projects, not exactly out of existence, but to see our own projects die to become the fertile soil and fertile seeded soil for the next group project. I think we all understand that we've been creating these plants that are bearing fruit, but those fruit may not be at all what the next round of plants look like. But it's all good, It's a game. And we should be humble enough to realize it's a game. And we've all played a really good game. Some better than others. It's fine. I'm really amazed at some of the work some of these guys have made. Very impressed. It leaves me speechless and like, dang it, I didn't do a good enough job. But, we did what we did. And there may be depth in mine that they didn't realize, and depth in theirs that I didn't realize, and that's all to the good. This is awesome. So that's just a pride issue, and hopefully I think we will all realize that and move on. What has me a little frustrated is there are also system builders out there who appear to have too grandiose a pride still. This is very frustrating and unfortunate, because it will be much harder for their work to reproduce. Much harder for it to evolve as quickly and powerfully and efficiently as it could. And worse than that, the minds who created the system, we kind of need them. We need them to be humble so that they can take place in the next round of evolution. We all have projects, parts of our projects that can be salvaged. And it would be better if we all can be a part of salvaging those projects rather than having others salvage those projects from underneath our noses while we swear that our project is the only one necessary. That would be a minor disaster. But so far as I can tell, it's overcomable, but unfortunate. It slows us down. Okay, what's the project of synthesizing projects? Can we begin defining it? Humility is obviously the first step, or recognizing it's a game, if you will. What we will need, though, is something like a method of prioritizing, of recognizing and prioritizing. This might be something like the... Excuse me. Oh. This might be something like the synthesis or commonality conversation format I was developing. But it would be nice if we could come up with something more substantial than that. Perhaps for now, all we have is a synthesis conversation method. But let me see if I can speculate, because I've got this intuition that there's a larger project. I don't know if I'll be able to do anything with this intuition, but we'll see. The intuition is that the group can recognize that there are parts that do the same job and unique parts. The group can decide that those things, a really interesting one will be to synthesize the analytical and the analogical forms of each model. So what I suspect will happen is we will be able to formulate a central analytical project from at least the 3, maybe 4 or 5 people I know of that are already system building and are representing their system. I'm aware there are some who were system builders and may not be anymore. There are other models that I'm not sure what to do with, theories of existence that are not exactly projects towards solving problems. And it's the problem-solving projects, the meta problem-solving projects that are important here. Then there is the various analogical versions. And maybe these can be synthesized together as well. That would be exciting to me. I would rather us all, to some degree, abandon our own old projects, again, in order to fertilize the ground for the new project. I would rather that. I think there are things that will be very useful. Oh, and here's another thing. Then there is the fact that someone like John Vervaeke already has a lot of really powerful cognitive tools. I have some pretty powerful cognitive tools, I think, although they don't have the research backing them that John does. And then there's McGilchrist's work. These are very important tools. There's even tools like Hegel and others, since I can't think of their names. All of these tools, all these many tools. But what I want to see is the minimal optimal version. How can we minimize each independent tool or set of tools and how can we optimally arrange them together. Oh my gosh, I just realized that minimal optimal is also left right, because the minimal is the minimal analytical version of a bit, a part, and the optimal is the cohesion of those parts. And of course there has to be this dynamic as you get each part closer together. Some parts combine, others don't, but then they also take each other's shape a little bit as you assemble them together, as you optimize for them, because there are dynamics that are hard to name, that rest between them, and we'll try to name them. But there is, and maybe that's what you do, maybe it's not that they take each other's form, maybe it's that they propose, when they are together, they propose other minimal forms that will be a part of the optimal whole. But there might be something to be said. Well, here's the thing, is whatever the optimal format is that the minimal parts come into, that can be defined as another minimal part. So call that the master minimal part, if you will. And then when you have the, well, and that is what defines the optimal relationship between all those minimal parts. Synthesizing on the fly. So that is going to be a big part of how we will synthesize our projects together as well, I think. So commonality conversations, i.e. synthesis conversations. So synthesis conversations don't necessarily have the aim of a commonality conversation, but they are done the same way. It's just what your aim is. It's not clear to me. Seems like the synthesis conversation is specifically targeting a position between two people or two positions, whereas the commonality conversation is synthesizing a position that, I had a term and it slipped my mind, that is the set of all synthesized positions, something like that, because you are synthesizing with an aim of knowing that you will be synthesizing with others when you build your structure. And that's hard to do, of course, but I think by being aware of that, it will help two positions aim towards commonality instead of merely aiming between them. It will give you a broader set of dynamics to pay attention to. If you're creating commonality, you have to be aware of all the human categories and all the being categories, all the existence categories, so to speak, and find out what fits in those categories and what is superfluous to the current conversation. That will sometimes happen, not often, but sometimes. Certainly details will be as you get further into other minimal forms. Oh, I haven't mentioned this in a while, but an optimal form, if you will, that prime or central, or whatever did I call it, the prime optimal form, prime minimal form, or call it the optimal minimal form of an optimal set of minimal forms. That optimal form is also a part of another set, and every minimal form is also the optimal form of another set of minimal forms, so that they continuously nest. And that too is a part of the conversation of optimizing commonality between our sets. Okay, so that's what I need to advocate for my friends, that we are not merely trying to synthesize our projects together, but to synthesize them towards commonality. And in whatever feedback loops back into the individual projects, that's great. I'm not saying those need to completely die, as in be thrown out. They are ancestors, and they are honored for their ancestral work. How honored they will be, I don't know. That is yet to be seen. Perhaps depends on if our projects survive history at all. Okay, that's pretty good. That was actually a pretty good video. I didn't think it would be. Cool. Thanks for watching.